Snow pressed against the cafe windows like a quiet judgment as the rejection landed heavier than the winter air, settling into her chest with the finality of a door being locked. She had dressed carefully for Christmas, believing the night might soften people, believing a blind date could become a beginning. But the man across the table measured her worth with a glance and a polite excuse, leaving her alone with a cooling cup of coffee and a familiar ache she thought she had outgrown. Before the story unfolds any further, take a moment to support the channel's Soul Tale. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that remind us what it means to be human, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe. Your small action helps stories like this reach hearts that need them. She sat there long after he left, watching families drift past the frosted glass, their laughter blurred into warm shapes. Christmas lights strung along the street reflected in the window, turning tears into sparks she wiped away before they could fall. Rejection was not new to her. It had followed her quietly through years of being told she was too much or not enough, too soft, too ordinary, too late. She had learned to carry it with grace, but that night it cut deeper because she had dared to hope. The cafe smelled of cinnamon and regret, and she gathered her coat, ready to step back into a life that felt increasingly solitary. Outside, the cold sharpened everything. Her breath clouded as she walked, boots crunching on thin ice, when she noticed two small figures near the bakery next door. Twin little girls stood hand in hand beneath a string of lights, identical coats buttoned to their chins, their eyes fixed on her with a seriousness that stopped her mid-step. She felt the pull of their gaze before she understood it, the strange certainty that something had shifted. She offered a gentle smile, the kind she saved for children because it felt safer, and continued toward her car, assuming the moment would pass like all the others. But it followed her, a warmth at her back, and she turned to see the twins again, now closer, their presence quiet but resolute. There was no noise, no commotion, just the weight of attention that demanded she be fully present. In their faces she saw something familiar, a longing she recognized from her own childhood, the ache of wanting to belong somewhere that felt permanent. She crouched to their level, heart racing with confusion and concern, searching for a parent nearby. The street hummed with life, yet no one seemed to claim them. The girl's mother had died months earlier, she would later learn, and their father was learning how to breathe again after grief hollowed him out. That night he was inside the bakery, hands shaking as he tried to choose pastries that would feel festive enough to fill a home that felt too quiet. The twins had wandered a few steps ahead, drawn to the woman who looked as lonely as they felt. In her eyes they saw a softness that mirrored their own loss, and without understanding why, they trusted it. She stayed with them, ushering them inside, making sure they were safe. When their father emerged, gratitude and exhaustion etched into his face, the moment became a crossing of invisible lines. Nothing dramatic happened then. No promises, no sudden declarations. Just a shared pause, a recognition that pain does not have to be carried alone. They parted ways with a simple exchange, names offered like fragile gifts, and she drove home with her heart unsettled, as if something had been planted there without her permission. The days that followed were filled with ordinary things that felt newly charged. She returned to work, wrapped gifts for herself because no one else would, and told herself the encounter meant nothing. Yet she found her thoughts drifting back to the twins, to the way they had looked at her as if she were an answer to a question they were too young to articulate. She questioned her own worth relentlessly, reminding herself of the rejection, of the pattern that told her not to hope. Still, hope persisted, stubborn as winter weeds pushing through concrete. Fate has a way of insisting. A chance meeting turned into coffee, coffee into shared walks beneath bare trees, and shared walks into afternoons spent coloring at a kitchen table while snow fell outside. She watched the father struggle to balance tenderness with fear, watched the girls cling to routine while quietly testing whether affection would remain. She moved carefully, aware of the fragility of their world, terrified of overstepping, yet drawn in by the simple truth that love felt natural here. The challenge was not the logistics of blending lives. but the courage to believe she was worthy of being chosen when she had spent years feeling overlooked. Christmas arrived again, quieter but brighter. The house smelled of pine and baked sugar, and the lights reflected in the twins' hair as they laughed, a sound that filled corners that had once echoed. She felt the old fear rise, the whisper that happiness was temporary, that she would be asked to leave once the novelty faded. But the day unfolded gently, each moment reinforcing what she had begun to understand. Family is not always born. Sometimes it is found through shared wounds and shared healing. Near the end of the evening, as snow fell thick and soft outside, the twins climbed onto her lap with a certainty that took her breath away. Their small hands rested against her heart, and in their eyes she saw not need but trust. They were asking for permanence without words, offering belonging as much as requesting it. The room seemed to hold its breath as she realized the answer she had been searching for all her life was not about being chosen by a date, but about choosing love when it appeared, even if it arrived unexpectedly. If this story is reaching you, if it is stirring something tender inside, please take a moment now to like, share, and comment on this video, and subscribe to Soul Tale. Your engagement helps these stories of quiet miracles find their way to others who need hope. She said yes in the only way that mattered, by staying, by loving, by committing to the messy, beautiful work of becoming a family. The past did not disappear, and fear did not vanish overnight, but it no longer defined her. She had been rejected on a blind date, but she had been accepted into something far greater, a life stitched together by kindness and second chances. Before this story ends, please leave a comment sharing where you are watching from and what this story made you feel. As the lights dimmed and the snow continued its gentle fall, she understood that Christmas miracles are not always loud. Sometimes they arrive quietly, in the form of two small hearts brave enough to recognize love when they see it, and a woman finally ready to believe she deserves it.